When you come up with the idea of going on a big expedition, obviously it's a big process. You've got to think about all the on-the-ground logistics. You've got to make lots of phone calls, write letters, get your visas, all your permissions in place, and it takes a while. You know, for the last trip that I did, walking the Himalayas, that took about 6 months of really hard planning. You've got to find the right guides, not to mention getting fit and prepared and acclimatised. Actually getting fit part was quite fun because, you know, obviously you keep base level fitness, but ultimately you need to put on a decent amount of weight because you're going to lose it. So it did actually involve eating lots of pizza and you know, putting on a bit of weight, which was quite good. And then, you know, actually just taking it steady. You know, the first few days, the first couple of weeks, start off doing whatever 10 miles a day and then build that gradually up. This time around I did have a slightly bigger team, so I had a gang that was helping me, you know, do all the research in terms of, you know, the route. Although most of that was actually, right, I know a guy here that we can go meet, I know this valley, because actually, you know, the Himalayas is a place that I know pretty well and I've been to over the course of the past 15 years. The Himalayas it's a very special place to me. It was one of the first places I went travelling. Way back in 2001, when I was just 19, I went to Nepal and just completely fell in love with the mountains. And I always said, one day I want to come back and do a massive trip here. And over the past 15 years, I have been going back. When I was in the army, I led a mountaineering expedition to the Himalayas. And I thought, you know, after the Nile, people always want to know what's bigger and better. And I thought, you know, what's bigger and better than the greatest mountain range on earth? I think my inspiration really is just meeting interesting people and you know, going to some of the most far-flung places on the planet. You meet some real characters, and I think that's what motivates me, that's what drives me. It's a great opportunity and a real privilege to get to travel the world and explore for a living. For me, going on these journeys is a really good way of challenging perceptions and actually going to places that, you know, you see on the media are dodgy and a bit sketchy. Places like Afghanistan, Pakistan. You know, you hear all of the bad news coming out of these areas. And what I wanted to try and do is actually show people the reverse and the fact that you can go to some remote places and be fine. Having said that, there were some dodgy times along the way, and there were times when I was a bit nervous, I was a bit worried. But I think you have to be calm under pressure, and if you're nervous, then you know you've got to try and hide it. You know, especially if you're dealing with, you know, gun-toting militiamen. So I think it's important to just be calm and just be friendly with people along the way, and that is generally your best thing. You know, the best thing to fall back on is just being relaxed as much as you can, and you know, shaking people's hands, looking them in the eye, and generally they'll look after you. What motivated me, I think, when I was actually, you know, in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. You know, sometimes it was hard. Sometimes it was tough to wake up in the morning when it was freezing cold outside, and the last thing you can do is get out your sleeping bag and carry on walking for another 25 miles. But ultimately, you know, you've got to really have a double take and think, you know what, here I am in this incredible environment with the most spectacular views in the world. You know, this is a privilege, and that's what's going to keep me going. My first guide on the last trip, Mulang, I'd not met him before, but he came with a recommendation. He'd been leading you know, foreign mountaineers into Afghanistan for a while, and came highly recommended. So I was happy to take that recommendation and literally meet him at the airport, and off we went. My other guy, Binod, I actually met him when I was just 19 years old. The first time I went to Nepal, he looked after me. There was a bit of political trouble in the country, there were some strikes and riots, and he basically took me to safety and took me into the hills and looked after me. And I always promised him, one day I'll come back to Nepal and I'll sort you out, and I'll take you as my main guide on a big expedition. So, you know, 14 years later, here we are. By circumstance, I ended up having to take a local taxi in a small village in Nepal, just a few miles down the road, and the brakes failed. The car went straight off the edge of a cliff, and it was about a 150-metre drop, and the car rolled, and we were all lucky to survive. There was 5 people in the car. I broke my arm and shoulder, and in quite a bad way. For me, it's important when you start a job to finish it, and so, to be honest, after a fortnight of sitting around, I just wanted to get back out and also make sure the guys were okay and get back out and meet Vinod again and just get on with the job and get it finished. So I went back out for another couple of months and did it. So I've only actually been back 4 or 5 weeks now. Yeah, when you go to some of these places, you do get offered some local delicacies. They're not always as tasty as you'd hope. I ended up having to eat goat's brains and eyeballs in Afghanistan. It was as bad as it sounded, to be honest. It wasn't pleasant. So here, this is actually my journal from walking the Himalayas, and there it is. This 6 months worth of notes that is the basis of my book. And you can see it's a bit dirty. During the car crash, it actually got thrown out of the window, and I didn't find it until 2 days later. This is the flag that I took to the top of Snow Leopard Mountain in Bhutan. So this was what I had on the last day, the end of my pretty epic journey. So I'll keep hold of that. It's actually an original flag from 1924, so it's very special. This is called a kukri, and this is what the Gurkha soldiers in Nepal, this is what they use. And I actually had to use it. My arm got infected when I was walking, because the shirt that I was wearing was rubbing on my arm because all the stitches were still fresh. And so one day I had to cut the arm off my cragropper shirt, and this is what I used to do it. This basically follows your route. It plots where you are, so the team back in the UK can actually see where you are on a map and check I'm not cheating, things like that. And then this is some good old foot tape. So obviously on a long walking expedition, you need some tape. So you put this on your feet in the morning, and it stops you getting blisters. Tom came out 3 times on the last journey. Usually for a week or a couple of weeks at a time, and he was there to help with logistics and planning, but also he's a great photographer and was getting loads of good shots along the way. So it was really great to be able to have somebody documenting the journey in that way. I'm a keen photographer as well, and it's a great opportunity to show these images to the world. And as with the Nile expedition, where I have an exhibition in London, so I'm going to show those images, and hopefully people want to see them. Whenever I come back, it's always nice to catch up with friends, go to the pub, have a pint. But I think the one thing I miss the most is just a nice cup of English tea and some toast, more than anything. So I don't plan on going on any more big trips, at least for a few months, I don't think. But you never know. I get itchy feet after a while, so I'm sure something big will be next as well, hopefully. The Royal Geographical Society is it's an incredible institution, and I'm very proud to be a member and also a fellow of the society. And that means that as a fellow, you join the community of people that are passionate about geography and exploration. It's a great venue. Anyone can join as a member, and you can come here. It means that you can enjoy not only the grand facilities on offer, but also find out more about other people's expeditions, meet other explorers. I think as a kid, I was inspired by all of the Victorian explorers, the people that went off in search of the source of the Nile. You can see a few up there. There's David Livingstone, and you've got people like John Speke and all the old boys. But also, even nowadays, there's some incredible explorers around. People like Sir Ranulph Fiennes. So I look for inspiration wherever I am. The Craghoppers trousers were amazing. You know, any trousers that will take you that far, you know, and wearing every single day. Because actually, I was wearing one pair of trousers for almost 2,000 miles, and then I'd keep another one just for the evenings to stay dry. So you know, they were really durable and comfortable as well. No, I love the Not Alive shirt. It was again very comfortable, great in the sun as well because you can put the collar up and it keeps the sun off your neck. And also, you know, protects against mosquitoes, and certainly where I was in some of those jungles and swamps, there was a lot of mosquitoes. I mean, doing this is, you know, it's a great honour. You know, people are interested, and I think the great diver Jacques Cousteau once said, you know, if you live an extraordinary life, you have absolutely no right to keep it to yourself. So I guess if he could say that, then fair enough.